Yo, how's it going? The long-awaited torso reveal from your friendly JIDF. In this video, I wanted to do like a little library tour of all the JQ books I have, or JQ related. I don't really have like a good bookshelf, and it wouldn't really look that nice if I just had my phone and just took a video of that. So I figured I'd bring them up and just kind of show them. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. Just bring all the JQ related books that I've either used, had, been helpful to me, or just kind of are interesting. I have even more than what I'm showing now, but those are more generic, like from, just covering religion, the world wars, Mideast in general, stuff like that. But these I've probably used at least somewhat for most of my videos, or just like to help me with some ideas. And just like a note that I haven't read every single page of all these books. Sometimes it's just like a quick little snippet from a book is all I need. Some I've read all the way through though. And I've taken like a bunch of notes. Like I have like this whole, I'm like a fucking crazy man. I have to like take a bunch of notes. Otherwise I'm going to forget everything. I'm like really forgetful. Some of these books, I have like a lot of notes and like highlights and stuff. Which is part of the reason why, like, part of the reason why I have so many notes like this is because I used to just get a bunch of these from the library if they're too expensive or whatever. So I still kind of do that. But anyway, I'll talk about that later. But the first ones I'll go through, let's see. I have a big chunk for, oh, God. Jesus Christ. This is going to take fucking forever. For like Iraq War, US and Middle East stuff. This has like the original Walton Mearsheimer essay, Francis Fukuyama. There's like a bunch of books just like, let's see, kind of like memoirs from like famous people, or just like writing people who like were in the administration, or like people like Bob Woodward. I have some of those who were just like writing about what they saw at the time of like the Iraq War and stuff like that. Fiasco. I got that one recently, but and yeah, feel free to like pause to see what these are, because I can't fucking name them all, and I'm just gonna go over like important ones. Oh God. Holy fucking shit. Okay, here's more for the Iraq War and stuff like that. Rise of the Vulcans does like a good synopsis of the Vulcans, the Bush administration at the time. Yeah, just a bunch of exposés, I guess. A couple Bob Woodward books, so that's pretty cool. Oh man. One thing I do a lot is I'll just like get loaned out library audiobooks, and those are really helpful. So just like, because like a lot of these I haven't even read like physically, I just listen to the audiobook, and then I might just get the physical copy to just have around, because I mean it would take fucking forever to read these, but if you put an audiobook on 2x speed throughout the day, it's like a lot easier. Alright, so that's like the big book lot for the Iraq War and shit like that. Oh man. Oh, fucking hell. These are all like commie books. Let's see here. I've got a concise history of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. This is like the rise and fall of the Soviet Politburo. Just have cool stats about people involved in the Politburo. Jews of the Soviet Union by Pincus has some good stats. Stalin against the Jews. Jews and non-Jews in Eastern Europe. Bunch of just, generic Russian Revolution books. History of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. So, get a gander there. Let's see, what else do I have? Wait, are those more Iraq books? No, never mind. I got this one recently. The Liberty Incident revealed. Although, that topic, I was maybe going to do a video on it, but the thing is that it's like, I'd have to read like a dozen books about it, and like the latest book about it is, it kind of just boils down to whoever wrote the latest book. Like, that's what you have to deal with, which kind of sucks. because the latest book written on it was by some Spurg. And it's kind of like similar with the whole Leo Frank case too. Like the last book on that was written by the Nation of Islam, so you know that's just like the latest material you have to deal with, and I don't really want to do that right now. So, in my opinion, that incident was like a weird one-off thing, and whatever. Pretty sure it was an accident, so not a big deal. These are some good books. Essential Outsiders. It kind of does a good comparison of like the middleman minority of Jews and Chinese, and I think a couple others. It's just like a good comparison between the two groups. Rebellion Against Victorianism. I use this book a lot. It just shows how during the 1920s, the U.S. culture became less Victorian and more libertine, I guess, and like obviously that had to do with just like a lot of like waspy people getting bored with being sexually conservative and whatnot. Scapegoat of Revolution and Constantine's Sword are both pretty good books. I feel they're kind of like rejoinders almost to E. Michael Jones' Jewish Revolutionary Spirit. Constantine's Sword especially, because that deals like almost goes through the whole like timeline of from Jesus up until now. It deals with the Catholic Church and the Jews, so it's very in line with E. Michael Jones' timeline. And but he's far more sympathetic to Jews, and like as opposed to blaming everything on the Jews, he kind of takes the other position and says, well, he kind of blames more so the Catholic side, which I'm sure there's like a nice middle ground there, but and that's being too simplistic. I mean, it's a long book, so I do recommend that if you're interested in Catholic-Jewish relations. Scapegoat of Revolution as well. That doesn't go as far back into history, but Judd Teller, he just goes over how Jews have been like, I don't know, whether it be communism or like the Protestant Revolution, whatever, like Jews were just kind of blamed, even though they had a tertiary role at best. Let's see here, what else do I have? This is kind of similar. The Jewish Enemy, Nazi Propaganda During World War II, Jews in Weimar Germany, Donald Newick. I don't know how to pronounce that, but those are some good ones. Again, I'll probably I think I'm going to be doing some like rebuttals of Europa: The Last Battle, so that'll come in handy. Just like good stats. Yeah, good stats on like, Jews in Germany and stuff like that. Let's see here. These are some good books on immigration. One Mighty and Irresistible Tide. I use that a lot. Protestants Abroad. I use all these. Beyond Borders. Refuge in the Lord. Yeah. American Immigration Debates. Those were all pretty useful in my immigration videos. I just recently picked this one up, Immigrants, Baptists, and the Protestant Mind in America. And I guess it goes over how like Baptists went from being like immigration restrictionists to embracing immigration. So I might like read some more of that. Oh, this is a different one. Yeah. Alrighty, so those are that. Oh man, I'm getting fucking crowded over here. These are pretty good. I haven't like read the whole, all these pages, but we have Esau's Tears by Albert Lindman, and Pogroms, edited by John Clear. And John Clear is a guy who wrote a lot about Russian Jewish history, kind of before the revolutions, like leading up to them. And those are really helpful, especially dealing with, like, I mean, obviously, like, before, like, the context of the revolutions, but also just dealing with, like, a lot of E. Michael Jones stuff, specifically. And another, I may as well get these, too. Fucking hell. Jews in the Russian Army. This was fucking expensive, by Johann Stern. And Ukrainians and Jews in Revolutionary Times by Henry Abramson. This author actually has a YouTube channel. It's pretty informative, just on like Jewish shit. But these are pretty good, again, like for the same reasons. Jews in the Russian Army. I got this because E. Michael Jones made a claim about Jews being like draft dodgers and stuff in the Russian military, which is, I mean, if they were, it wouldn't be that surprising, but I'm pretty sure this book says that they were like overrepresented, but I mean, it really just depends on what time period you're looking at, and frankly, like minorities in a lot of these kind of empires didn't necessarily want to fight for people who hated them. You could see the same with like Armenians and Greeks and shit in the Ottoman Empire, like during World War One. So those are cool. Oh man, I just grabbed this book, The Arab Lobby. I took like I read the whole thing. I took hella notes because it mainly just goes over Saudi Arabia and a couple other like tertiary people, but he mainly goes over Saudi Arabia. I mean, he's obviously like very pro-Israel, and he wrote it as not really as a response to Walter Mearsheimer, but more as just like, oh, look at this other, group that also lobbies and does a bunch of like nefarious shit. But I mean, he wouldn't agree that Israel does nefarious lobbying. But anyway, his whole point is just like showcasing a lot of stuff that Saudi Arabia has done, and I mean, it's pretty clear if you look at it that Saudi Arabia and Israel both have like a pretty powerful influence on the U.S. when it comes to the Middle East. But I would say like for sure the U.S. has like far more history and dealings with Saudi Arabia, to be honest. And I mean, just from a, if you wanted to base it off of like liberalism and democracy and stuff, I mean, one of those countries is like far more aligned with our kind of ideology than the other one, but whatever. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, I have some Spurg books. So we got Mein Kampf. Yeah. I haven't read the whole thing, but I remember reading it, and I was pretty like, I mean, it's very like just straight to the point, like powerful. He doesn't fuck around. He's just like, yeah, like I don't like Jews. Here's why I don't like them. The Synagogue of Satan by Andrew Hitchcock. I remember reading that like super long ago. It just like gives like a bunch of like random like events and dates, and just like the Jews did this and the Jews did that. Like they're the reason why, I don't know, like the 7/7 bombings or the Madrid. Like he just like blames Jews for everything and offers like, it doesn't like he doesn't offer sources or anything like that. New History of the Jews by Eustace Mullins, another like really weird book, because he's like one of those guys who like tries to be Christian but at the same time like says the Jews are bad, and he goes like so far to say like, oh, even the Old Testament is like corrupt, or like shows that the Jews are awful, but at the same time like you claim to believe in it. So it's really random. For whatever reason I have 2 copies of Jewish Domination of Weimar Germany. I read this like so long ago. I'm pretty sure it's like the basis for a lot of like Europa the Last Battle type of stuff, so it's just good to have. I picked these up recently. State of War, which talks about the CIA and the Bush administration. I guess that kind of belongs in the Iraq War books, because yeah, it just talks about the CIA during that time. I haven't read it yet. And this is Confronting Iran by Ali Ansari. I just picked it up just to get more familiar with like why the U.S. and Iran are enemies. And the reason I like kind of want to study certain things that aren't necessarily have to do directly with Jews is because I want to showcase that, I mean, not everything has to do with Jews. That like sometimes the U.S. does things in the Middle East or does things in, wherever the fuck, not because of some Jew telling the president to do something, which you think would be like pretty obvious, but that's like not always the case. I mean, whatever. In this space, it's not always the case. That's like very obvious. But all right, I have a couple more. All right, I think these are more communist books. Christ, I'm running out of room. Or this isn't really, I guess it's kind of commie. I don't know. Socialist, Anti-Semite, and Jew by Donald Newick. Again, just goes over some German Jewish stats. Hitler's Crusade, his beliefs about like Jews and Bolshevism. Gulag by Anna Applebaum. I liked this a lot because it was like the only book I could find that had just like pretty solid sources about like the statistics of the Gulag. And I want to read, or at least listen to the audiobook of her other work called Red Famine, which talks about the Holodomor, because everyone like always blames that on Jews. Like David Duke will say, oh, it was all Yagoda or whatever, but I'm like, I've read some of her work and like I've done some rebuttals to David Duke on that, and like I just think it's bullshit. So but yeah, I want to read that book of hers for sure. Here's just more stuff about communism. Are any of these interesting? This is the first book I got. It helped me like sort. It didn't really like debunk anything, but it helped me like source a lot of material that was good to debunk things. It just kind of, a lot of books kind of take for granted, and that's the problem with a lot of JQ stuff. Some of these books kind of just say like, oh, like they believe this about the Jews, isn't that crazy? But they don't like go actually debunk it. So sometimes it's hard to like actually find a book that, okay, here's a direct rebuttal to a lot of this stuff. So I guess that's why I'm doing what I'm doing a little bit. Alrighty. I think this is the last. Oh man. So we got The Jewish Question by Abram Leon. This is like a Marxist Jewish writer writing about the Jewish question. And basically his whole analysis, I haven't finished it, but I guess it's just like, oh, the Jews, rather than being like an ethnic group or a religious group, they become like a merchant banker class, and like that's the reason why they're always like fucked with. I have some like qualms about that. I want to read it more, but I don't know. I mean, it's like a very like Marxist, materialist analysis of the issue. This was an interesting one. The Wisdom of the Talmud. I haven't done any like videos on religion per se, but yeah, Wisdom of the Talmud by Rabbi Ben Zion Boxer. Must have been written a while ago. But it just gave me some like quotes from non-Jews about the Talmud, like praising it, saying like it's not bad, or just kind of going over some. It's not like a rebuttal or refutation of stuff people have said about the Talmud, but just like some interesting things from the Talmud that like, I don't know, someone would read and be like, oh, that's like nice of people to say. Anyway, like, I feel like a fucking retard like explaining this, but anyway, so yeah, that's that. The sex researchers, I did that whole video on sex and gender and stuff. I don't have any of those books really, but I found this one, and then I don't know, it kind of goes over some of those figures. So I don't really have it. I don't really own any books about that. These are interesting to have: Jewish Power and Transforming America's Israel Lobby. I need to read more of Jewish Power, but it just goes over like, I guess, the Jewish establishment in the U.S. Transforming America's Israel Lobby is pretty cool because it like, it's a, I think the dude who wrote it, Dan Fleshler, is like a, maybe like a liberal Zionist, or like a, he's like critical, he's like a J Street guy, but I don't know what his views are now. Like maybe he, I don't know. He would definitely probably be labeled as like a Zionist, like shill, but from like a hardcore, hardline, like, I don't know, Meyer Kahana type dude, he'd be considered like the opposite spectrum. But it just goes over some of like the like misconceptions about like how powerful the Israel Lobby actually is. So I thought it was good. Jews, Slaves, and the Slave Trade, Eli Faber. That helped me out when I, that helps me out when I did that little video on slavery. Obviously there's other books about slavery and stuff, but yeah, anyway. Jews in the Roman World. It's kind of interesting. I haven't like used it or anything, but just talks about like how Jews were thought of in the ancient period and some of their interactions. That's like a very interesting topic in and of itself, especially like before Christianity. Because it's kind of like a weird thing for people to latch onto, to say like, oh, like even the ancient pagans hated Jews, but also like a lot of these same people claim to be, you know, in like some kind of spiritual line with the ancient Israelites. So it's like, I don't know how they like square those. And the pagans hated the Jews a lot of times because like the Jews did weird stuff, like they didn't want to intermarry, or they like cut off the end of their penises. So, but those are things that like God in the Old Testament commanded them to do or not to do. So it'd be weird to criticize that from like a Christian perspective, is my point. Anyway, I'm preaching here, but The Abandonment of the Jews by David Wyman. It's like a pretty well-known book, but it just goes over like during the Holocaust, a lot of countries didn't help out the Jews, ergo they basically had no choice but to go to Israel. So that's that. Oh, I guess it's pretty fitting. The last book, Culture Critique, Kevin McDonald. I think you guys know all about that. I think that's about it for now. Yeah, I have more books, but as I said, they're kind of generic. and I haven't used them in like any videos or anything. Don't have like many notes on them, so I didn't want to bring them out. Too much work for me. Also, I'm gonna do like a little Amazon wish list. Not in the sense that like I want anyone to like ship me anything, but I'm just gonna show some books that I think would be cool to have physically. And I'm gonna put them on a list. And if anyone wants to send me like a little Amazon gift card, more than welcome to. And I'm thinking also about maybe making a Patreon. I'm not sure yet. I was like looking into like Buy Me a Coffee and PayPal, but I don't know how to do the whole like PayPal business thing to not like show my real name or whatever. I don't know, it's kind of annoying. So we'll see. I think Patreon is like a bit more anonymous, so we'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace. Here's what the list looks like. I'm gonna put it in the description, the link. A lot of the prices are a little bit misleading because I would just get the used version. But a lot of these books are, you know, between like 20, 30 bucks, some are more, even used. And I try to put them in order of ones I would like the most. But anyway, regardless, if you feel so inclined, it's really no big deal because frankly, I could just get these from the library and just use them if I need, but it's just like, I can't put notes in the books themselves and it takes a while to get them. So it's just nice to have. And you can email me like an e-gift card for Amazon. It could be any price, I believe, and it could be relatively anonymous if you just use a different email, I think. So I just found that to be easier than setting up a whole like donation thing, which like maybe I'll do a Patreon later, but that's like a different topic. But I don't know, it should all be like relatively anonymous, and any funds I would ever get from this, if I ever even did that, would just be to buy some books anyway. So, and I don't figure a lot of people will give me anything, so I'm totally fine with that. I just want to put it out there. And yeah, so I'll put the link for this in the description, and I will put my email in the description. So thank you very much. Bye.